So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the history of Liverpool FC from a financial point of view, just to show the growth of the club and where the money's come from and how the money's getting spent. I think we broadly know how the money's been spent. So let me just try and control this. So I thought to have a start point, I'll make it full screen. Is it now full screen? It should be enough to make it full screen.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you now see, it should say Liverpool Football Club and Athletic Grounds PLC?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sound. So I thought I'd go back to when I first started teaching in Liverpool, which was the 89-90 season, which was a good season for Liverpool FC. And as you may or may not be able to see from the numbers, I appreciate that the slides might not be coming up brilliantly. In that season, Liverpool generated from football £6 million. £6 million is about £115,000 a week. So that's for the whole club. That's from TV, that's from sponsorship, that's from ticket sales. And that figure of £6 million has grown and grown and grown. And we can now add effectively 2 zeros to that. And that's due to the success of the Premier League. But the thing is, Liverpool made a profit. So that they lived within their means in the late 90s, or sorry, in the late 80s and the early 90s, just as all other clubs did. And yet, if we take the accounts for all the clubs for the most recent season, which is 22-23, as far as the finances are concerned, 19 out of 20 Premier League football clubs lost money. So despite all of the extra money coming into the game, they're not making any profit. And that's due to a variety of reasons, as we will see. So this is sort of the history. And we're back, of course, 2 or 3 owners ago. So what's happened? Where did the money come from? Well, the reason why the Premier League was created was that owners felt that, first of all, they were sharing too much money with the smaller clubs. So by going it alone, we could generate more money. But if you take a look at these figures here, Liverpool made £3 million that year from sponsorship. This is preceding season 2 to the start of the Premier League itself. £3 million. This season, in as far as FSG are concerned, they will be looking for Liverpool to make £250 million. So all of the money's coming in. It's coming in from TV sources. It's coming in from royalties. It's coming in from sponsorship arrangements. So does it have to come from fans to the same extent? Do we have to see that same growth of revenue from fans? I think there is a case for saying, but it's not required. And it's down to owners realizing that your loyalty which built Liverpool Football Club along with your predecessors, and that's why I called this talk Standing on the Shoulders of Giants, because we all wouldn't be here were it not for the efforts of those generations before us, has meant that you have now become cash on a stick as far as club owners are concerned. And it's not just Liverpool, it's not just Manchester United. It's I've been dealing with Fulham fans today. They just announced their ticket prices for the home match against Arsenal. And to expect what is ultimately, and which is historically, of course, as we all know, a working class game, to be charging £80-90 to watch 90 minutes of football is absolutely crazy. But that's the situation where we are. So Liverpool has grown and grown and grown. And in 91-92, if you wanted a season ticket, it will cost you £114. So that's around about £8.80. So that's the money that you were paying to watch your beloved team at the start of the Premier League years. Now, I don't know what your season ticket prices are today. Mine's around about £30 for my team, and I think that's okay. But other people are paying far more. I get the cheapest tickets that I can to watch my team. So if we take a look at history of Liverpool, and I showed you in that first slide that in 1989, Liverpool generated 4 million, £4.5 million. Liverpool's revenue's gone up by a factor of over 100 since the late 80s. Is there anybody in this room whose wages have gone up by a factor of 100 in that same period of time? I suspect not. So it does seem that clubs have been very, very successful at using the broadcasting deals, both domestically and globally, to increase their appeal. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If people want to watch football on telly, let them. If people want to watch that football on telly in the Philippines or United States or Australia, go for it. Absolutely. And if they want to buy the merchandise, well, that's down to them. But as we've seen with the prices, they're going up and up as well. Now, look at these numbers. Since the start of the Premier League, consumer inflation, what we are paying as far as buying a loaf of bread, buying a newspaper, whatever it is, that's gone up by 124%. The Premier League's revenue has gone up by 9,600% since 1919. So the Premier League has been spectacularly successful, Liverpool included, and the other clubs in the Premier League included as well, in terms of their ability to get extra money coming into the game. Does that extra money have to come from you? That's a separate argument. And I think it's a argument which is difficult to justify, because football is not like any other product. Liverpool FC are a monopoly supplier. And if I talk to economists, they say, well, they're not a monopoly supplier. There's lots of other football clubs that you can go and watch. But those economists don't understand football. If I've got here, I'm a big fan of Apple products. So I've got an Apple computer, I've got an Apple Watch, I've got an Apple phone, an iPhone, and an iPad, and I've got the full works. Got 2 Apple Pencils. I'm a real Apple geek. But if Samsung phone me up and say, Keiran, tell you what, we'll give you a Samsung Galaxy and a Samsung headphones and a Samsung iPad and a Samsung laptop, and we'll give it to you for free for the next 5 years. If you give up Apple, I'll give it up like a shot. If Jim Ratcliffe phones you up as Liverpool fans and says, look, we need some noise, we need some passion at Old Trafford, what we're going to ask you to do is to stop supporting Liverpool, and don't care what it's costing you, I'm going to offer you a free season ticket at Old Trafford for the rest of your life. How many people are going to take up that offer? Can you see? And we've got this unique relationship. You've got that monopoly relationship between a football fan and the football club. It's a cradle-to-grave labour of love, which brings joy which is unparalleled and misery at times which is unparalleled. But there is nothing more emotional than being at a football match, which is why we go there. That's why we want to go there. And we want to go there again, and we want to bring our kids there. And I'd always argue that if you, as a Liverpool fan, or me as the fan of the club that I support, doesn't matter what the club is, if you were to list out the top 10 moments of your life, at least half a dozen of them would involve being at Anfield or being at an iconic match which you can remember as an away fan, or a cup final, or whatever it's going to be. And that's that unique relationship. And clubs are exploiting that. Clubs are monetizing that. They are turning your loyalty and the loyalty of all us football fans into cash. I went back to those figures from 1990, and I thought, well, where's the money gone to? And we all know that football is a talent game, and talent follows the money, and footballers are very well remunerated. But if we go back to when Liverpool won the old league Division 1, the predecessor of the Premier League, in that season, including bonuses for winning the league, Liverpool's total wage bill was £5 million. Now that's about £95,000 a week. That's for the whole squad, that's for the manager, that's for the executives, that's for the support staff and everybody. And the highest paid person in Liverpool in the season 1989-90 was earning £270,000 for the year, because in those days they used to list out the wages. I suspect it was Kenny, He will probably tell you if Barnsley was there or somebody was earning more. But as you can see, there were only, I think, 11 people at the club that were earning more than £100,000 a year, let alone £100,000 a week. So what we have seen over the course of the last 20 to 30 years is the money's come into the game and it's gone straight out of the game as well in the form of player wages. And I'll always defend a player to generate as much money as they can. Nobody forces the club to put a contract in front of them. So it's down to the clubs to control those costs, and they're not very good at doing that. If we take a look at the average wage at Liverpool, I worked out in that 89 season, the average weekly wage was £2,300. By the time we got to 2023, that average weekly wage was £173,000. So it's gone up and up and up. And it leaves us with a dilemma. You want your best players to stay. You want to recruit the best players. And if other clubs are paying wages at that level, if you don't match those wages, you lose the players. So it is a challenge for a club. There doesn't seem to be a solution, because if you have a wage cap, if you say, let's go and cap wages at £100,000 a week, what happens is that those players go to Italy or they go to Spain or they go to another country where they don't have wage caps. And we've seen this in other sports. We've seen this in rugby union because we now got a wage cap as far as rugby is concerned. So it is a problem. And as we can see here, wages have gone up by 7,000% since 1990 during a time when prices had just about doubled in a bit. So players have been the biggest beneficiaries of all the extra money coming in, but it's your money that's coming in, which is now funding those increased levels of wages. So does football have a problem today? Because if you go back to the last decade, if you think about that period, 2010 to 2020, the price rises as far as your season tickets were concerned, they didn't tend to be every year. There were price freezes, and I know, I hate Manchester United as much. It's probably more than some of the people in this room. You might find that surprising, but my wife's ex-husband worked at Manchester United, so I've got good reason to loathe a particular club. And my first date with her, I took her to Hartlepool. I said, "Do you like football?" She said, "Yes." So I took her to Hartlepool away, thinking I'd impress her, not realising that the previous match she'd been to had been the Champions League final in Barcelona or somewhere like that. We managed second date, but it was hard work. So I've always had loathing of Manchester United ever since. But so what's the problem as far as the football finances are concerned? The reason why they are putting up the prices, or the excuses that the owners are making in terms of putting up the prices, is that football generates money from three sources. It gets the money from the TV deals. But here we've got a problem. The TV companies are not willing to pay any more money. Sky will be paying no more money in 2029 than they did in 2017. So you've got 12 years of flatlining as far as the money coming in is concerned. And yet during that period, wages are going up, transfer fees are going up, transport costs are going up. I'm not saying it's right, but this is what you're going to be getting from the clubs. The second form of income is from sponsors. Now, there is a little bit more money to be generated from sponsors, but there's only so much room on a shirt. And we've seen some clubs, if you take a look at what's happened at the Etihad and Manchester City, and there they've now got double height sponsorship deals on the advertising hoardings, because they don't seem to need the fans there, or they can't get the fans there, or whatever it's going to be. Is that going to happen at Anfield? Is that going to happen other grounds where effectively fans are going to be replaced by advertising because the advertising's more valuable? That's a function of the fact that they're finding it more and more difficult to get the money from the sponsors. So as far as the owners are concerned, if you're getting no more money from the TV deal, if you're struggling to get more money from sponsors, who are they going to target? They're going to target you. because they know that no matter how good or bad a performance, no matter how crap the weather, no matter how crap the food, no matter how long it took you to get home after a match, you're still gonna be there the following week. I remember being at a away match watching my team at Huddersfield. Our goalkeeper got sent off in the 5th minute. We lost 7-1. And I walked away saying, that's it, I'm never going again. And the following Saturday I'm at Southend. Because you can't stop. It's an addiction. It's the most addictive love on the planet, the relationship between a football fan and a football club. So as far as the clubs are concerned, we know, rightly or wrongly, that Liverpool could sell 500,000 tickets for an individual match. So therefore they're going to argue that we're going to start to sell tickets to the highest bidder. And they're going to try to replace season ticket holders with individual match day fans. And I'm not going to criticize the people who come from elsewhere to watch Liverpool. I can understand the appeal. It's absolutely, the football they play, the history, the heritage, the magnificence of the city. The fact that I commute 400 miles to and from home to go and work in Liverpool because I've got an affection for the city. I just happen to live down it to be close to my grandchildren who my wife helped me to bring up. So that's what's happening, and they're targeting. And what they're going to do is they're going to replace these people, the people that were here on the COP in the 80s, with the prawn sandwich brigade, because the prawn sandwich brigade are willing to pay the higher prices. And you've only got to look at a match at Wembley, and you think of the second half. Whenever a match kicks off, there's nobody on the screen. There's no fans watching the match as they pan across from the tip. And the reason for that is that the hospitality seats, which are based on the halfway line, well, they're still in there. They're still eating their prawn sandwiches. They're still comparing their wines and so on. They're not football fans in the historic and heritage way that I suspect the vast majority of people on this call have been brought up. So how much is it costing us as fans? So as part of the exercise, when I was asked to do this, I thought I'd go and research, because I've got to deal in facts. I'm in court in 2 weeks on a football case, and it stopped myself from being slaughtered by a KC. I've got to make sure that my facts are correct. It's not to do with this, but ultimately, as somebody that teaches numbers are very, very persuasive. So I went into the 22-23 accounts of the Big Six, for want of a better phrase. I looked at the number of people that attended to see them in the season. I looked at the total match day income. I looked at the number of matches. And what we've seen is that there's been an increase of 800%. So during that period of time when prices are just over doubled, match day income has increased by 800%. And these are the figures that fans are paying on average to watch the Big Six teams. Now, if you take a look at the top three, there's a London premium. Why are Chelsea getting an average of £91.77? Well, first of all, it's a small ground. But Chelsea's a small club in my view, but that's a separate discussion to be had. They're in London. They're in the swanky part of London. They've got relatively few match day tickets to sell, and they've got quite a big hospitality sector. So they're able to generate. If you take a look at Liverpool's prices, an average of just under £71, and this is before the price went up, of course, to £24.25. It is painful. It is sizable. A lot of that average, you might be saying, well, hold on, I'm not paying that much. I don't like what I'm paying. But remember, that takes into account those people who are in the boxes, who are in hospitality seats as well. Manchester City, for all the faults, and there are many reasons that we could have a separate 2-hour discussion for the things that are questionable about some of the things in respect of Manchester City. What the owners have done is that they've absorbed the losses that the club made by making the opportunity to watch that team. And I lived in Manchester for 40 years before I moved again. I used to go to the Etihad when I wanted a quiet afternoon, and watch them, and the prices were always low. But that's because they were trying to build up a fan base at the time. So I thought I'd try to put these figures into some form of financial context. In 1990, when I started doing the research for this, the cost of a pint was £1.21. I don't drink alcohol, so you can call me out if these figures are wrong. The average cost, according to the government, by 2023, is £4.57. But if pint prices had matched the rise in ticket price inflation, you'd be paying £9.73 for a pint. If beer prices had matched the amount of money coming into football in terms of its revenue, and therefore going through into wages, you'd be paying £104 for a pint. So that's how quickly footballers' wages have risen compared to what we are paying as regular Joes and Josephs and punters and so on. If we compared the money going into football itself, your price of a pint would be £132. So the money has come into the game. Yes, the players have been the significant beneficiaries, but I would argue that given that the clubs have got so much more money coming in, why target fans? Because fans have cut, your fans who are from L4, we know that Liverpool is not a city of great wealth. Why are we trying to target what wealth we have? And we often talk about football being the most important of the unimportant things in life. Yes, we've got to put a roof over our head. Yes, we've got to go and feed the family. Yes, we've got to clothe the family. But after that, we all make sacrifices to watch football. We all turn down the opportunity to do other things to watch football. And it now seems that the clubs are targeting us as those consumers to generate the money, to allow the billionaires to live a lifestyle which is already quite good for them. So who have been the biggest winners in terms of Liverpool Football Club? Well, in terms of what we've seen, in 2010, Fenway Sports Group bought Liverpool Football Club for £300 million. Most recent valuation of Liverpool Football Club was £4 billion. Now, a lot of that is down to the way that they run the club. And as business people, I've got nothing but admiration for them. They're very smart financiers. They're very smart analysts. I've spoken to the likes of Ian Braham. I've got Ian Braham, who used to be the head of research. I'm actually meeting Ian in Belgium. We're doing a talk together, the Belgian Football League, on Monday. But given that they are already billionaires, given that the club is worth £4 billion, is there any need to target you as loyal fans who it's your forefathers and it's your love and affection for the club which has built their value? Is there any need for them to target you in trying to get more money out of you?